From just about the very beginning of February, my focus has been on the very stormy pattern which took hold in Iceland as high pressure slowly but surely returned in mainland Europe. This has already had an effect on the weather for some by allowing cooler air to return, while others further west got a break from damaging Atlantic storms. But look at what happens next. This anticyclone centered over the UK and Ireland continues strengthening and sliding east as another one from Russia slides westward, ultimately morphing together and creating an even bigger one. So in addition to the effects that this very large anticyclone has, the stage is going to be set for what I've been calling a potential climactic clash between high pressure in the east and the return of low pressure from the Atlantic. With all those thoughts in mind, it's already obvious that we have lots of things to discuss today, but before we dive directly into all of this information, here are some of the most recent photos submitted by subscribers. The first one comes from County Cork in Ireland when the sunrise illuminated altocumulus clouds on January 30th, 2025. In Sweden, on the last day of January, the sun made its first appearance in quite some time, according to the photographer. On February 1st, another subscriber from Sweden sent this from a little further north in the country. Clear skies once again, but in this case there's plenty of snow on the ground. Last but not least, a vibrant sunset from the Netherlands on February 3rd. New submissions are always being taken, so make sure you check the description for details if you'd like to have a chance at seeing your photo show up in one of these videos. Now moving on with the forecast, we begin with the current conditions. We have yet another strong storm in the vicinity of Iceland right on schedule, relatively calm conditions across most of the Mediterranean for now, a small and weak low pressure system northwest of Portugal and Spain, high pressure located over the UK and Ireland bringing a welcomed period of drier and clearer conditions, mostly calm weather for many in the Nordic countries except the far north after a wave of snow and ice on Wednesday, and lastly, snowfall continues across parts of Turkey and surrounding countries. As we go into Friday, that small area of low pressure will move southeastward across Iberia with rain and even snow, and at the same time, another low pressure system is going to emerge from the vicinity of Tunisia and Algeria. Those two entities will be the cause for deteriorating weather conditions across a large part of the Mediterranean during the day on Friday and going into the weekend. I'll talk more about the potential for flooding in a moment, but look at what's happening further north. Remember that the area of high pressure over the UK and Ireland is going to be joining forces with the other anticyclone further east, and as it does so, low pressure is going to fill in behind it. This allows light precipitation to come back into the picture, and with marginally cold air in place, some of this could actually fall as light snow in places, but I think the better chance for wintry showers will come from a weak upper-level disturbance passing over southern Scandinavia around this time, pushed along by the clockwise flow around that large area of high pressure. Now, as we go into the weekend, turn your attention further west. Another wave of Atlantic moisture tries to intrude in Ireland and the UK, but in a seemingly rare move it comes to a halt and gets completely obliterated by a new anticyclone coming behind it and joining forces with the massive one already occupying most of Europe. Up to this point, we've seen that high pressure promoting cold and mostly dry weather is winning, while the pest from the west remains weak. But not for much longer. More on that right after we discuss the Mediterranean flood threat. For today, the risk of flooding remains low, but those yellow shades in Algeria and Tunisia is a signal that rain is going to start to fall from that developing area of low pressure emerging from the Sahara. Things ramp up on Friday with some red showing up in Tunisia. This indicates a growing concern for extreme precipitation and flooding, while the yellow expands towards Italy, France, and Libya. For Saturday, the main flood risk is going to noticeably shift further north, putting many portions of Europe at a greater risk. Sunday brings a continued risk of flooding for the same area, and it most likely won't be until Monday when we see this activity move further south and east, allowing for further improvements, but I would still keep an eye on Italy. As that flood risk winds down, the next thing I'm watching is this Atlantic system which approached Iberia over the weekend, but was forced to slow down because of high pressure in place. Whether or not this does reach Europe, it's interesting to note that this system will likely be followed by more Atlantic systems, leading right into that clash that I mentioned in the introduction. Weather models continue struggling with how exactly this plays out, but the main idea is as follows. Sometime between February 13th and the 16th, which is right in the middle of the month, high pressure still stands its ground, but the pest from the west appears to fight back harder. Widespread rain and winds therefore bursts eastward, possibly followed by even more strong systems, in which case high pressure will be beaten back very quickly. That's one scenario, but it's also worth considering another possibility. If the pressure from the west is slightly weaker and high pressure stays stronger, then it could force those Atlantic lows to go around the high pressure, and this scenario would be more favorable for heavy precipitation across Iberia and the Mediterranean, with cold air still remaining across the European continent. One way or another, the next 10 days are looking very active and dynamic. If you're interested in keeping up to date with the latest weather updates focusing on Europe and occasionally North America, make sure you subscribe with the notification bell turned on. If you have any further questions or concerns, you can leave them in the comments section below. And for now, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.